Okay, let's take a good seat on our yoga mat. Roll the shoulders up and back, down a couple of times. Roll the shoulders forward and down a couple of times. Rest the eyes low or close your eyes. Open yourself further to this practice by noticing your breath. And this week I'm opening classes asking you place 1, 2 hands on a part of the body that needs a little more attention and love in this practice. If you're thinking more emotional state, maybe it's hands over the heart. Mental health, hands over the head. There's a certain body part that you need to be careful with. Place your hands there. Is it knees or back? And just take a few more breaths with the hands in that place of concern. And loving, full thoughts. And if you'd like, place the hands back down along your thighs. And we'll start with some gentle movement. Tuck the chin down to your chest and rock the head a bit from side to side. Right ear to right shoulder. Chin down to the chest, left ear to left shoulder. Just kind of back and forth here. Keep the chin down to the chest. Place both hands gently behind the head and push the head up into the hands. So you actually get a little taller, a little longer. Nice light stretch from the top of the spine down to the tailbone. Feel the belly draw in to strengthen. Then we'll release the hands and lift the head. We're going for a really long side body stretch. I'm going to go all the way forearm down to the floor here, and it does make my opposite seat lift up. Try that, but if it doesn't work, stay higher on your hand instead. Take the other arm overhead. Pretty intense side body stretch though. And then look down at the ground, take both hands like we often do in child's pose, but more from the seat. Split the hands kind of across that right thigh. To get to the other side, walk the hands around. And so you're doing this downward angle first. And then you'll keep your left palm or all the way down to the left forearm on the ground, or whatever your second side is. Top arm free, lift it up and over. Look a little more to the side or even up. Slowly come all the way back up to your center. Take the hands out in front of you, cross at your wrist, and then clasp the hands. Kind of like cat pose, round your back, slump back, if you will, in your pelvis. And then we'll come back to neutral and release the arms. Okay, let's come over to all fours. Place the hands under the shoulders, knees underneath the hips, and do cat and cow. Move the spine just back and forth here. Take your time, go as fast, go as slow as works for you. Every time in cow pose, think chest forward, eyes up, head up, heart open. Bringing in that fuller mantra of our month. And then round the back, look down in every cat pose. Sometimes I like to wag a little bit from side to side from cow. We were doing a little bit of studying the cat and cow work earlier this month, thinking about keeping belly as is, but making the movement come more in the upper back across the collarbone, the front of the chest. You can get more minute like that. So staying mostly neutral in mid to low back. Getting the thoracic spine, the upper back, to really find most of the movement. That's different because our low back, or lordic spine, is generally more mobile. Upper back, generally more stiff. It's the needs of our body, but we can do this practice to find a little bit more space and balance. Okay, one more round like this. And then let's do downward facing dog. Tuck the toes and lift the hips. And in down dog, pedal out the feet. Shake out your head. Release a nice long exhale through the mouth. Do the things that feel good. Really actively press the hands down and forward. Make your arms straight and strong. Squeeze the tips of the shoulder blades in. And then as you start to straighten the legs and press your heels evenly towards the ground, think thighs back. Create the space and the width from side to side of the body. One more breath in downward dog. And then lower the knees down, child's pose. Knees apart, big toes together. Reach the arms out long in front of you. Pop up to fingertips. Lift your forearms, elbows, upper arm bones to the sky. Lift your head and look past the fingertips here. As if you were doing cow pose, try to pull your chest through. And then let it be more like cat pose. Drop the head, drop the arms so the upper back can round. Full release of the breath. Full release of the body as much as possible. Come back up to all fours. Let's take the right hand out to the side. And then the right hand behind the head. Try to lift your right elbow more up to the sky. And then come in line. It's like a slow pulsing here. Right elbow up. Back to neutral. Do it one more time. Right elbow more up. Back to neutral. And then thread the arm underneath so you go shoulder, ear, side of the face down to the ground. Extend your free arm out in front of you or up to the sky. Good. Place the free hand back beside your face. Use it to help you come back upright. Okay, and then we go left hand out to the side. Bend the elbow, place the hand behind your head. And I'm saying point the elbow more up to the sky, but it's, of course, from a turn in the torso, an open twist. And then to neutral. We're doing this 3 times. Inhale and lift. Come back to neutral. One more time. Inhale and lift. Come back to neutral. Thread the needle or twisted child's pose. Take the arm underneath. Lay down, shoulder, ear, side of the face, and then right hand out in front. Can certainly stay there. Take it up to the sky, even fold it behind that opposite hip, whichever of those 3 positions you like best right now. And place the hand back beside your face. Use it to help you to all 4s. Downward dog. Tuck the toes, lift the hips. Look in between your hands and step the right foot all the way forward into the lunge. Take your time to build your full stride. And then we're going to shift our weight just a little forward and back here. Forward and back. If you're looking for more room in this position, hands can come to the inside of your foot. If you're using a yoga block, place the hands underneath the yoga block to give you a little more ease. We're just trying to find some dynamic movement here. Okay, stay back into your lunge and set the back knee down to the mat. But rather than leaving the knee in its full stride, pull the leg in a couple of inches so that if you come upright, you're much more in a 90-degree stance, like 90-90 through the legs in terms of the angles. Okay, lift both arms up to the sky. And then drop your right hand down and lean towards the right. We're looking for length in the side body, but also a stretch to the front of your left thigh. Squeeze your glutes so that you're holding strong here. Maybe it helps you. Right hand can hold on to the left wrist. And then come back to center. Set the hands down to the inside of your foot, and you're still in that short stance. And now take the left hand up to the sky. And if all the way up to the sky doesn't feel great, do that behind the head work that we did a moment before. Okay, find neutral. Scoot this left knee back 2 inches so you're in your fuller stride. And then both hands come up to the front thigh. And send the hips down and forward a little bit. If it helps you to do that through a little bit of pulsing back and forth, that's okay. I have my back foot flat. There's no reason you couldn't also just tuck the toes. Maybe try out both and see what feels better. As you find the lower point, make sure you're pulled up on the front of the pelvis and the belly. And let's try 2 breaths with the arms overhead. Lower the hands on either side of the front foot. Make your way backwards to downward facing dog. Pedal it out. Second side, step your left foot forward, and we're going for that full stride first. Helping hand, whatever it takes. And then move forward and back. Straighten and bend the front leg. Definitely doesn't need to go all the way straight here, just finding your range of motion. Okay, we'll stay with the front knee bent. Lower the back knee. Scoot it in a little bit closer. So as you come upright, you're again in that 90-90 stance. Inhale, lift both arms up to the sky. And then we just drop the left hand down by the side. Now, I feel this pretty acutely in my bottom thigh right now, the right leg, just lifting higher up gives a stretch and like a pull up in the front of the hip flexor. I want to keep that, but then also add the side bend. And I actually find it a little easier to hold on to the wrist and do the pull. It's sort of that closed chain, if you will, that can make poses more doable and safer. And as you come back to the center, we'll lower the hands to the inside, floor or a block if you're working with it. Keep the left fingertips there and reach the right arm up. Be mindful, like if at the beginning you were holding onto your shoulders, a really great variation is going to be to hold the behind the head. And that way, the opening, the rotation, the mobility that you're asking is going to be where the shoulder wants to open rather than the hand getting to lead the way. And then we'll come out, hands move back to either side, lift the back knee, find a little longer stride. And then we were here, back knee down again. Toes can stay tucked. Sometimes that's easier to find the power or flat down. Bring the hands up to the front thigh. It doesn't have to be a huge shift, but try to go a little down and forward, and then a little up and back. A little down and forward. Maybe through each new pulse, it stays with like a shorter range. Squeeze the hips as if they're moving in towards each other. So if I forget to do that, I'm gonna splay way further down. Feels like more flexibility, but it's less balanced. So you gotta pull in yoga, creating union, creating balance. We can think of that just purely in the physical body if we want. Lift the arms up towards the sky. And then lower the hands on either side of the front foot. Full lunge. Step all the way back to downward facing dog and pedal out the feet. Have a nice deep bend in your knees and walk the hands backwards to your feet. Like ragdoll pose here. Hold on to your elbows, let your head relax, and just shift a little bit from side to side. Again, a good opportunity to let some breaths out through the mouth. Slowly roll up to standing. Roll the shoulders up and back a couple of times. And forward and down a couple of times. Okay, let's walk up to the front of the yoga mat. Give attention back to the piece of the body that needed a little extra compassion and love in this practice. Notice as you've found a little opening movement, has that shifted or changed? Okay, with that goodness in mind, sun salutation. Inhale, lift the arms up to the sky. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Extend from hips out to the head. Whether hands are higher or lower on the legs, get the full length in your spine. And then step back to plank. Squeeze the heels in, squeeze your glutes, lengthen the tailbone, tone the belly. Look a little forward rather than down. I've been saying the same instructions in plank for a few years, and it helps me every single time. I hope it helps you. Like checkpoint through the body. Strong, able, and then lower flat down against the mat. Press the hands and feet to the mat, peel the chest up. I like to think of a shrug of the shoulders towards the ears, but then a really steady move back to create more space across the front of the chest. Change to downward facing dog. Remember that change can always be a straight up and back through the knees. I usually push to child's pose before I come to down dog. We just kind of take our time, especially in this class. We don't rush through. Okay, look to the hands and then step or jump forward. Come up halfway. Forward fold. Stand up, reach the arms to the sky. Palms together, center of the chest. Inhale, lift the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. And then step back to plank. Lower flat down. Peel the chest up for cobra. Be strong in your legs. Go to downward facing dog. Look forward to your hands. Step or jump all the way up there. Half lift. Forward fold. Stand up, reach the arms to the sky. Bring the palms together, center of the chest. Okay, a little nod to the work that we've been doing throughout the first of the month. Lift your arms back up to the sky and then bend at your elbows to hold, hands to elbows. And we're trying to really extend from the hip to the shoulder and the shoulder straight up to the elbow. So this is very much about flexibility. And then if I ask you to keep the upper body, the arms holding on to the elbows like this, and bend your knees to try to go somewhat towards your chair pose, we start to think about mobility. Lots of joints having to do work here and balance with one another. With a little bend in the knees, think tailbone down, low belly more up. And then straighten the legs, lift the arms to the sky. Big help there as it gets to dolphin pose. Exhale, forward fold. From forward fold, I just want you to step back to downward facing dog. This is the Vinyasa series that we're working with this month. Lift the right leg up for three-legged dog. And then shift forward to plank. Lots of decisions here. Leg can stay lifted. Bottom knee could go down to hold you with more support. Hold plank or add a push-up here, down and up. And then go back to three-legged dog. Pull the knee into your chest and step all the way forward to your lunge. Come up to high lunge. Torso straight up and down, arms to the sky. And then keep as much as you can, but spin the back heel down to change into warrior one. So a lot is the same about those two poses. A little more opening in the back hip, pressure through the back heel. And then a lot of the same through warrior one into warrior two, except now open the arms to the side, open the shoulders. And it's like the energy shift of the body goes more side, long length of the mat. Keep the gaze forward to hold the connection between the two poses. And I want you to go back right to where we came from. Warrior one, high lunge. Warrior three. Tap forward until you can tilt. Torso forward, leg up. I don't have the room right now, so I'm taking my hands to the hips. They could stay out in front to the hips or even reach the hands back behind you. Lower the hands, come all the way down to your low lunge. And then step into plank. Let's get the second side going. Lift the left leg up. Decide to keep it or not, and add a push-up or don't. Go to three-legged dog. And then step the foot all the way through to your lunge. Okay, high lunge. And we're connecting the poses here, but trying to go slow enough to really see each pose on its own. It gets its full attention. So high lunge. Then push the back heel down. Hips draw open a little bit, but the focus is still towards the front short side of the mat. And then warrior two, eye gaze can still stay forward, but the whole body direction really opens to the side. With the eye gaze forward, should always be pretty easy to look down and broaden the front knee so you can pretty easily glance at the big toe. I usually need to heel toe the back foot in, just one little step to change back to warrior one. Somehow it doesn't feel as doable on the back end. So go back to warrior one and then lift the back heel. Notice a little extra rotation that needs to happen for high lunge. Okay, time for warrior three. Weight goes into the left leg. Hands out front to the waist or even back. Straighten your standing leg as much as works, which also means it's okay to keep a nice bend. And drop it all the way down to your low lunge. Nicely done. Step back to plank. This time I want to go knees, chest, chin. So set the knees down. So this 8-point pose, or 8-point pose with the chin, the chest, the hands, the knees, and the toes. Little grasshopper. Change to cobra. Legs down, chest up. Everyone, child's pose, push back. From child's pose, come up to all fours. Do well to place the hands under the shoulders. Spread your fingers wide. I'm going to go knees together here so the thighs can press into each other. Lift the right leg up and back. Lift it a tiny bit higher and try to stretch it a little further back. Lift the chin. Think chest up, heart open. Extend the left hand out in front. Bend the back knee, reach back, try to hold on to your foot. Swing the heel closer to the right side of the body, so it should do that little extra squaring of hips and shoulders. Try to keep it square and lift higher. So elevated bow pose. Opposite arm and leg there. Release and lower it down. Second side, lift the left leg up. We're doing this little nod to lift the leg higher, further back. Even if it's just a thought in the mind. And right hand out. Bend the back knee, reach the right hand to hold the left foot. And I'm saying then kick the heel over towards the left side. For me, when I reach and hold on to the foot, I get twisted, and then it's a squaring off. Lift, lift, lift. Try to push through your bottom hand and bottom knee to stay more contained and stronger in the abdomen. Okay, release. Come back down to all fours. Several rounds of cat and cow here. Kind of coming back, finding neutral. Using all of these points that we've taken throughout the month to help as we continue towards mermaid pose. So the next point that we've worked on this month is dolphin. I want you to come down to your forearms and choose your dolphin hands. It can be interlaced, usually easiest that way. A block in between the hands. Turn the palms up to really think about and be steady with the forearms down. So choose your hands. And then tuck the toes and lift the hips. Okay, remember I was talking about flexibility and then mobility as it goes from where we were into dolphin pose here. I want you to bend your knees like we did, holding on to the elbows, and then we bent the knees like chair pose. I'm all upside down, can't think. And then you're using that sense of mobility to walk the feet a little closer in to get the hips over the line of the shoulders. Multiple points of the body working together, not just do I have tight shoulders or not. And then lower the knees all the way down and wrap the hands back to your feet. Let the shoulders round forward and the head round forward. I want you to sit upright, back on your heels. Hold on more towards the knees. And do one more like cat back. And then neutral spine, shoulders up and back. Low ribs down, belly in. Simple twist. Take it to the right. And then to the left. Okay, good. Come back to the center. Back to forearms down. This time, a little more complicated for your dolphin pose. I want you to actually try to hold the hands over each other. So forearms are down, but hands touching the elbows. It's harder to balance this way. And you might say, nope, I'm gonna go back to where I was already. Or just give it a go, and you can turn palms down. It's kind of funky. Tuck the toes and try lifting the hips. This changes a whole lot of where I can go in the pose. And it's just noticing, working a little bit. And then you would flip and take the other forearm in front and give that a couple of breaths. I'm definitely not static in this variation. Move a little bit in the feet, legs, and then come out of it and go back to that child's pose, holding hands to the feet. Lift up, sit back on your heels again. And then a little forward to tuck the toes and sit on tucked toes. This can be a really intense stretch in the feet. Be more forward to take some of that pressure off. Be more upright. As much as it works, I do want you to lean back and feel weight of the seat onto your heels. Turn your gaze low. Maybe even close the eyes. Give yourself a few breaths. And then come out of the pose and give your feet a little pat. All the way upright, extend the arms straight out in front of you. I want your eye gaze to be right at the tip of your fingers. This is camel pose. We've been working from the strength of our thighs. Same thing today. Squeeze the glutes. Think of the kneecaps pulling up so it tones the muscles on the front of the thigh. And then lean back. Come back to neutral. So again, we're moving here today. You kind of reach towards your max, press the top of the feet down to the mat, and then come back. We do it a few times. Back and up. This time, stay back. Big squeeze of the glutes. Take one hand to your low back, sacrum. Good there. Can that same hand reach down and find your heel? Okay. Do it on the other side. Other hand holds towards low back and then to the heel. Push the thighs more forward while you're still holding on to your heels. Look more up towards the sky. To get out of the pose, you can do the exact same thing. Let your hips fall back a little bit. One hand out in front. Use that hand to help guide you all the way back up. Down to all fours. Stretch to downward facing dog. Take a little shorter stride of down dog than you usually do, and take your feet wider, so feet as wide as the yoga mat. A shorter, wider downward facing dog. Many breaths here. Short enough that hopefully we can have hands and feet well flat against the mat. Dare I say, a more restorative version of down dog here is what we're going for. And then just take a bend in the knees to walk your hands back to your feet. Safely, easily roll up to standing. Walk towards the front of the mat. Keep your right foot forward and step the left foot back into a high lunge. Keep the hands at the hips. Squeeze the elbows back. Feel the sort of strength underneath your hands of your glutes. Then we're going to bend the back knee a little bit and scoot the foot a little further back. I'm going to ask you to do this one more time. Bend the knee a little bit more. It's still off of the ground. And scoot the back foot a little further back. It should bring you into a pretty long stride. And then the next time the knee goes all the way down, and you'll already be a little forward and down in the hips. Place the left hand on the mat and pull your left heel in towards your seat. Look over your right shoulder and try to hold on to your back foot. Can you hold on to the big toe side of the foot? Point the elbow up to the sky as you pull the heel in towards your sit bone. I'm not trying to make this a back bend. It's all about a quad stretch here. So you kind of keep looking down more at your right thigh. And then slow release, back foot down to the mat. Bring your hands back onto your front thigh. And if you were really low in the hips, bring it up a little bit. So you're no longer at that lower stage. It's a little higher up. Lift both arms to the sky. We're exaggerating again the stretch we did at the beginning. Quad stretch up that back thigh. Lift, lift, lift. I want you to lower the hands on either side of the front foot. Bring the back knee in 2 inches. Push the hips back so we're in that closer 90-degree angle through both legs. Left hand stays down to the ground and lift the right hand up. And then here's the one we've already done. Right hand down, lift the left hand up. At the same time, pull your right hip a little more backwards in space. Right hip a little back in space. Subtle shifts. Okay, both hands go back down. And then just make your way to the front of the mat. Legs feel a little heavy at this point for me. Fold over and slowly make your way back up to standing. Okay, let's even things out. Left foot stays forward. Step your right foot back until you get into high lunge. So start with your typical stride. And we're like wrenching down and longer, yeah? So a little bend through the back knee, and then try to squiggle your right toes further back. So now your stride is lower and longer. We're gonna try it one more time. Bend the back knee, squiggle out until you're in a straighter leg. And then all the way gently set down to the mat. Hips are already in a down and forward position. They don't have anywhere else they need to go. Let it be for a moment. Then we're gonna lean forward so there's less intensity for a moment. Right hand down to the mat and pull your right heel in. Look over your left shoulder so I can see my foot, and then reach back and grab hold. And if you're not grabbing hold of the foot, you're holding air in between. Same thing. If you are grabbing hold, try the big toe side of the foot and use the strength of your arm, the elbow bends, to take the heel closer in. And I'm pretty well onto the fleshy side of my thigh of that back leg. That's one reason that we took the stride so long, so that I'm not on the bony kneecap. Okay, you're gonna release the leg. And then I take the knee 2 inches further forward and push the hips back. So even right in here, oftentimes this front left hip is a little bit forward and out to the side. So you're thinking of really squaring things off. Keep the right hand down, lift the left arm up. And then do the opposite thing. Left hand down to the inside of the foot. So I've got like my inner thigh and outer shoulder kind of pinned against each other to help with the balance as you lift the right hand up. Remember to keep shifting your left hip back. Okay, and then we'll bring it all the way back down. And just slowly make your way forward to stand in standing forward fold. Knees can be quite bent here. Hands to the hips, point the elbows up to the sky. Press down into the feet and come all the way up. That's our first look at mermaid pose. In our peak pose classes every Wednesday here, I try to take a look at that pose about 3 times. So let's do it a different way. Lift the arms up to the sky and then fold over, and let's take it back to down dog. Lift the right leg up into the air for a 3-legged dog. Bend the knee and open the hip, point the knee more up to the sky. You can look underneath the right armpit. And then I want you to keep as you are, but it's a shift in your focus. Look back down towards the floor, square the shoulders, even look underneath that left armpit. This is the same sort of shift that I always notice I need in mermaid pose. It's got to come back around. Okay, this time we're going to pigeon. Take the right knee behind the right wrist. Keep the heel pretty close into the left hip as you walk the back leg out and come down to the forearms. So we're gonna get into some twisty, funky stuff here. You're more than welcome to stay right as you are. Admire the thought and the build that happens towards mermaid while staying comfortably in pigeon. So you get to choose, right? You always do. Okay, so here we go for our stages. Walk back up to the hands. And I do want a pretty upright torso to start before I build other pieces. So my back leg is way too far back for me to get all the way upright. So I'm going to just pull it in, and I'm using a little bit of push onto the back knee so that I can get all the way up and down, hips over shoulders. Shoulders over hips might be better. So you want to have that strength and pull in towards the center. Lift the arms up to the sky as much as that balance allows. Okay, and then I am going to go hands down in front. So I get to take that super upright position and just lean forward a tiny bit. Pull the back heel in. Careful here, I always need a little bit of movement so that I don't have a cramp and a Charlie horse in the back leg. If you're like me, just give it a little bit of movement up and down a couple of times first. And then I'm going to try to take that same hold that I've already done, thumb this time, up on the big toe side of the foot, because now I'm same arm and leg. And try to pull the heel in, a little bit out. Every time the heel pulls in, I'm twisting fingers down over my toes and elbow up to the sky. Okay, once the heel can stay in and the elbow up, that's where that three-legged dog comes in, where I said, okay, now square the chest back off to the front. Try to look underneath the opposite shoulder, if you will. And that opposite shoulder happens to be the right hand here. So I'm trying to look more at my right armpit. Once we're there, we're going to release and lower it out. Everybody's back into your pigeon pose, down on the forearms, like we were there the whole time. Let all your weight fall towards the right side. As you come more upright, pull the left knee closer to your right foot so that you're in this like S or Z sit. I don't know why some folks call it one thing and the other. Okay, this is another thing that some folks call mermaid pose. Right hand is behind you, and then you push into your lower legs to lift up and push your hips forward. And then lower it back down. Guess what? We're still on this side. I want you to go back into your pigeon pose, but use it to come up into a lunge. So now you've got to change to go to your right foot. Left knee down. Okay, this is the last look. Hands come to the thighs. So we're going to try this bound back quad stretch from a lunge again. Same hand to foot. So pull the left heel in. You're doing the same things that we just did in pigeon pose, except this time, and this might be more of like watch me first, I'm going to take the free hand, this is how I have to do it, and try to reach back, and then I'm going to hook to my elbow. Not everybody needs that second helping hand, but I'm trying to work it to hook at the elbow. And then my body is open, like in that three-legged dog lifted leg variation, to the same side, and I've got to return back to the front. That's that change that we did in the beginning from warrior 2 back to warrior 1 and high lunge. So we're doing it from a much complicated part. If all that is still happening, you're with me. Right hand reaches back and tries to hold on to your left fingertips. And that's that same upper body opening that we did for dolphin pose. always something else to connect and go to. Release, release, release. Definitely give yourself some time in all fours or child's pose or dog pose. Even out. We do have one more side. So I'm going to go downward facing dog here. Everybody join me. Lift the left leg up. Bend the knee. Open the hip. So point the knee more up to the sky. Again, here we're seeing that easy open and rotation. It's easier to look under the left arm. Good, nothing wrong with that. And then the little intensity to square the shoulders back off, even look more under the right arm. Change to pigeon pose. Come down to the forearms. Take your breath here. Okay, for good and for bad, this side knows kind of what's to come, right? We think our body's symmetrical, but it's a little different, so be good to yourself. Things might come to you easier or harder on the second side. Be open. Okay, and then we're going to go for it. Walk the hands up. And again, if the shoulders are a little more forward than the hips, maybe bring that back knee in until you can get more upright. And yes, I'm pushing down through my front knee and my back knee in the same way that I would to have to hold a high lunge. The hands do come a little forward and down. Shoulders go more forward than the line of the hips to get into the first quad stretch. Pull the back heel in. Now, I see a lot of folks just try to reach back and hold on to the foot. And yes, I can do that here, but it tends to keep our shoulders in a down and forward, more cat-like position. And for where we're going today, we really need to stay open. So I'm going to look back, do the turn like in three-legged dog to catch hold of the big toe side, play with the extension, and then try to turn back so that the shoulders are more in that upright cow position. We're going that far, and then you come down. Take your time to find left foot into the lunge. That's not where I want to go. I missed it. Go back to your pigeon legs. We got to bring the back knee in and sit down on our left side. Sorry, want to make sure that we do pretty much the same. Left hand goes behind you. Lift and push through the hips so you got this long stretch to the front side of the body. And then you'll come back down. Okay. You find pigeon, tuck the back toe, lift the back knee, and change to your low lunge. Sometimes that's the hardest part. Lower the back knee again. And now we're hands up to the front thigh. You can employ all those things that we've done a little bit, like some of the motion down and forward, my squeezing the heels in nice and tight, all of the things. But we're adding on. I'm going to keep hand to the front thigh and pull the back heel in. And I notice right away when I do that, I don't have my legs quite long enough. So continually adjusting that stance. And then reach back and find the foot. But again, you've got to really look back so that the shoulders can open, the hips go more towards that warrior two position, a little more out to the side. And then trying to slide towards the elbow. It takes me time. Maybe a yes, maybe a no. Some days are different. Woo, lots of strength in the abdomen to keep us. And then we're slowly shifting back towards warrior one, hips to the front. Side body long, reach high. Try to look under the left armpit. All right, I know that's my stopping place here, but if you're matching hands, you're gonna bend top hand like you're giving yourself a pat on the back. Lean the head back into the forearms like we were doing for all that prep work for dolphin pose. All the poses can help each other. Beautiful part of the practice. Come on out of the pose. Take your time through all fours, cat, cow, dog, whatever helps you to realign here. When we're ready, we're going to stretch into one last downward facing dog. Set the knees down, come all the way down. Lie down onto your back, pull your knees into your chest. Hug the knees in tight. Set the sole of the left foot on the ground and stretch your right leg up to the sky. Hold wherever feels good. On the calf or under the thigh, maybe on your foot. Cross the right ankle over the left thigh. Pull the left leg in. So important to have this time for counter poses. Take this time as we cool down to kind of walk through the practice. Notice how the body felt along the stride of the practice. Switch sides, take your left leg up. What stands out to you? Was it frustration points or just a little bit of joy for the movement? Certain pose that came to you differently today? I've noticed throughout this month as I work with the mantra head up, heart open, when I take the time to contemplate a little bit more. Let's go to left ankle over the right thigh. Even like things I just did, this practice that we're still in. What did I take away from that? And it just makes it easier. I have found to see the mantra head up, heart open. One step at a time, if you will. Okay, we'll go back down, 2 feet to the mat. I like to go feet as wide as the mat and drop the knees in towards the center, hands to the front of the pelvis. And feel the melt, the release. Oftentimes I want to stay right there. You could also try, though, feet together and knees apart. The more I talk to students, those that tend to have a little bit more natural flexibility in the back, they don't mind this. It's not always my favorite thing. I'm a little stiffer, so that extra melt, knees together, feet apart, helps me most. Okay, and then do one more thing, whatever that one more thing is for you. Big good morning stretch, arms overhead. Maybe it's a supine twist. Maybe this is where you have a shoulder stand practice. Anything that feels right and safe to you. Maybe take a minute more. And then unwind to Shavasana. Find a position of complete stillness. An easeful release here. Begin to lengthen the breath again. As you do that, a little movement in the fingers and in your toes. Stretch out more fully. And take your time to roll towards one side. Hands can be a help as you roll deeper to come all the way back up to a seated position. As we move from what piece of the body, internally, externally, do you need more compassion for in this practice? What piece of the mind and soul do you want to stay compassionate with in this day? If it makes sense to physically touch that space, please do so. We'll take that reminder into the rest of the day through the sound of Om. I invite you to sing along with me, to listen, or to tune it out. Empty out your breath. Take a deep breath in. I bow in deepest of gratitude to each of you, to ourself, and to this practice. Namaste. Okay, thank you all for taking this time, as always, to yourself.